longest-running fundraiser, the Soup Cook-Off. And we have with us today from the Flemington Rotary Club and president and chair of Flemington, woohoo, Mick Scheibel. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So I'm getting this high sign from our, what are you called? From our Rich. He's not picking me up. He's called Richard. So the Soup Cook-Off, how long has it been running now? Have you been keeping tabs on that?
Yeah, it's the 9th year coming up. So we've had a bunch of winners over the many years, and 9th year coming up. So we're all looking forward to it. Very excited.
And it's going to be on Monday, February the 29th?
Correct. Leap year this year.
Yeah.
So the last day in February, the 29th, Monday night. It's from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock at the Commons at Hunter Central High School.
So for people who have never attended, why don't you tell us a little bit about how this project came about and what it is about?
Sure. I mean, initially, this was a project designed to do a number of things. It was to promote community awareness of what Rotary is and what Rotary does, and some of the charities that benefit from Rotary's activities. And it was an opportunity to serve the community and give the community a chance to gather and have a nice evening. And by way of having up to 20 of the best restaurants in the county join us to participate and sampling their soups and having a competition to see who's got the best soup in Hunterdon County for that year.
Sounds all good to me.
Yeah.
And the clubs, as I said, they're the Hunterdon County Club, so that's
yeah, Hunterdon County. It's not just the Flemington Club.
In addition to Flemington, it's Clinton, the Horizon E Club, White House, Lambertville,
North Hunterdon.
North Hunterdon.
Yep, correct.
Sorry, North Hunterdon.
The 5 Rotary clubs of Hunterdon County plus the E Club.
Yep.
And this event not only promotes awareness of Rotary and awareness of the 20 restaurants who participate, and awareness of Hunterdon Central, who's the host of the event, and ShopRite, who's the sponsor of the event.
And the Interact Kids.
And the Interact Club, who supports the event. But I just lost my train of thought. It was also to, the main reason for the event is to donate to the food pantries.
Right.
So there's 5 primary food pantries in Hunterdon County. And every dollar that's raised in this event goes directly to the 5 food pantries based upon the needs that they serve.
And that is Open Cupboard in Clinton?
Yeah, I didn't bring the list, but the primary one is the Flemington Food Pantry. There's
the
Fisherman's Mark in Lambertville. Yep. The North Hunterdon Food Pantry.
I'm not real positive where that's located.
That's in North Hunterdon.
And then there's one outside of White House.
There's called the Starfish, which we added last year for the first time, and Open Cupboard Pantry. Right. So I think that's all of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really, usually we raise, because there's an entry fee. That's where this. So if people want to know where the money comes from, it's part of the sponsorship. Offsets the cost to do the event, but then it's the entry fee, and that money that gets collected is divided between the food pantries.
Right, about 80% of the revenues of the event are from the fees paid at the door to come to the event.
And the money is divided out based on the size of the pantry.
Yeah, so we have a formula based upon the populations that are served by those food pantries. The Flemington Food Pantry, I believe, gets 50% of the proceeds.
They're the largest
right.
of all of them.
And then the other ones are divided up 20, 10, 15 or something like that.
Right.
And so historically we've raised between $7,000 and $10,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And like I said, about 80% comes from the entrance fee. It's always historically been $10 for adults and $5 for kids and free for little kids.
Yep.
But this year we decided to increase the fee to $15. We just think that as the years have gone by, it's such a great bargain to be able to come and sample 20 of the best soups in the county on a winter's night. And, what better place to go at the end of February?
And it's amazing how full you get.
Yeah.
You get these little cups, and you're like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I know I get maybe 3 or 4 into it, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, so there's no limit to how many samples you can have, or, if you have the ability to sample all 20 restaurant soups, you're welcome to do it. But literally, we give the restaurants intentionally small cups, which are 4-ounce cups. That looks relatively large when you're talking about having a lot of samples of soup, and we encourage restaurants to give a 2-ounce sample. So if you do the math, 20 restaurants times 2 ounces, that's 40 ounces of soup. If you sample all 20, it's almost impossible to really do. So a lot of people don't get to all 20, or a lot of people...
Or they're smart and they piggyback with someone else and share the soup.
Right. So for $10 or $15, it's really a wonderful way to go out and have a nice dinner, really.
It really is, and it's fun, and the camaraderie is really great.
Yeah.
You get to see people from all over the place.
Yeah.
I know Rich has been there, and you guys have even, I know, you're like, why are you putting me on the radio show?
I wasn't going to talk.
Well, you always do anyway. You always say, I'm not going to talk, and he does.
You know, the
But
first...
You've actually broadcasted live from the show in the past, correct?
No.
I thought you have.
No, we didn't.
Hopefully we're going to have them there this year.
We're talking about doing it this year.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
The thing
getting
is,
mixed up with
I know what you're saying. The first time I did it, it was over at the Polytech Cafe.
Oh, is that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where it began,
Oh,
right.
okay.
And I remember saying to my wife, I guess we're going to go to Jake's after this because... And after having all those soups, I said, well, I'm not hungry anymore.
Yeah. And then the internet kids, they'll do a bake sale, correct? Are they still doing
Yeah,
that?
historically we have we've done a bake sale where actually it was never really a bake sale because we included cookies in the entry fee. And the cookies just between 500 and 750 people come to this event. So the cookies were always, and since they were free, they were always gobbled up by the first few hundred people who walked in the door.
Going in there like in the buffet lines.
People couldn't moderate themselves.
In their purse,
and the cookies just disappeared quickly. So then we thought, well, for $10, maybe we should offer the cookies for sale for $1. And so we did that last year, and quite frankly, it didn't go over so big. When people had to spend an extra $1, they weren't so willing to do it. And so we had tons and tons of cookies left over. And
so what are we going to do this year?
so at the end of the event last year, we had raised about $375 in cookie sales. So when I found it, and the Interact kids man that table. They do a lot of things at the event to help, and so one of the things they were doing was selling the cookies for us. So at the end of the night, I expected to have $750 of revenues because we had 1,000 cookies there, and so they told me, well, we only sold $375 worth of cookies. So I said, listen, just keep the $375 for Interact's kitty, and we'll talk about it again next year. So this year, it takes up space, number one, because it requires a couple of tables, and we also put bottles of water out free for people when they attend the event. So those two tables took up space, and one of the difficulties we have is having proximity to electricity in the commons room. So that some of the best locations for tables were being taken up by our cookie tables. So this year, after everything we've been through with the cookies, I talked to the Interact advisor, and I said, why don't we just do away with the cookies this year and devote the prime space to soup tables, because the venue just fills up with patrons, fills up with participating restaurants, and the cookies really haven't gone over that big. So she said that was one of their biggest fundraisers of the year for Interact.
Oh, no.
So the kids were really looking forward to it.
So you're letting them come back, right?
So I said, absolutely, then go ahead and do it. This year, instead of us devoting our resources to getting cookies for the event, the Interact kids can just bake their own stuff, get the cookies from where they made from their families, and they'll have their own bake sale. They'll probably do other things besides cookies, too. But in doing so, we're going to take the prime locations where those cookie tables were, and give them to restaurants for better visibility in the event, and put the cookie tables somewhere else, but accessible, but somewhere else. So, make a long story short, we're having a bake sale and soup.
And are they doing, because I know in the past they also did rolls?
Yeah, when this event started, we tried to do more than we tried to expand the soup idea more than I think that we reached out further than we should have. We used to have free coffee and tea, and we had free rolls, and we had free cookies and free water, and all for the whopping price of $10. So all of that stuff did take up space and effort and time and resources. So after every single year we had several hundred rolls left over, and we had lots of coffee left over, and the cookies were gobbled up by the first several hundred people through the door. Yeah, so we basically, after the years, we said, hey, what are we up to here? And we're really up to having a soup sampling. Yeah. So we've really sort of refined it, and we've given back really valuable table space to restaurants. So now it's a bake sale and a soup cook-off. Yep. So that's the event.
I'm sorry. Figures that one day I forget to turn my phone off. Oh wow.
That's $1 fine.
That's
You can hardly hear it.
You can hardly hear it. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't have my headphones on because someone didn't plug me in. That's why I was like sitting there going like, what did I do? Oh, that's why I'm not plugged in. So let's talk a little bit about some of the restaurants.
Sure.
Some of the winners.
So I just brought the last couple of years' winners with me. I printed them out. And in 2014, 2 years ago. So what we do as far as winners is initially this event offered one trophy, and it was called the People's Choice. Mm-hmm. And it's really a beautiful trophy. It's a large soup tureen, and it's mounted with a plaque of all the past winners. And the way that works is when you enter the event and you pay your entry fee, you get a poker chip. Right. And on every soup's table, participating restaurant's table, there's a coffee can with its name, restaurant name, number, and the soup. And when you decide who you think, as the people at the event, have the best soup, you take your poker chip and you put it in the coffee can on the soup table that you think is the best. And at the end of the evening, we count the poker chips, and that's how you win the People's Choice Award. And then that was sort of, people had different ideas about fairness and about whether that represented the best soup or whether it was just a popular soup. So then we came up with a different idea to bifurcate the awards, and now we have two trophies. One is the People's Choice, and one is the Judge's Choice. And the People's Choice is the subjective winners from patrons of restaurants, who the restaurants encouraged to come and vote for them. And then the Judge's Choice is an objective panel of judges who go and objectively sample the soups and try and really cast their votes objectively for the best quality, best tasting soup.
And those have typically been the club presidents or a representative from the club?
Yeah, we've tried to, over the years, get different celebrities or different leaders of the community, or even some people in the restaurant business who were involved in the business, and we've considered restaurant critics, but Hunterdon County really doesn't have a dedicated magazine where there's restaurant critics or so. But we might do this next year. But this year we are sticking to the 5 presidents of the 5 clubs are going to be the objective voters, and that's worked out well in the past couple of years. And coincidentally, it worked out so well last year that the People's Choice for the winner and the Judge's Choice, these were all blind, and the 5 judges don't get together and talk about the winner. They do it, a blind result that's compiled independently. The winner was the same last year, which was Cafe Galleria of Lambertville.
Do you remember what their soup was?
Yeah, the soup last year from Cafe Galleria was butternut squash.
Okay,
yeah, it was a fantastic soup.
Yeah, I do remember it now.
Yeah, and so in 2014, the winner of the People's Choice was, let me get this straight now. I want to make sure I have this accurately. Let's start with the Judge's Choice. So the Judge's Choice winner in 2014, 2 years ago, was T-Berry's Tea Room. They served a baked potato soup. And then Mountain View Chalet won second. Judge's Choice was T-Berry's, and People's Choice was Mountain View Chalet. So, and then last year in 2015, the first place for People's Choice was, as I said, Cafe Galleria, and the same Judge's Choice was Cafe Galleria. Last year, first place was Cafe Galleria. Second place for People's Choice was T-Berry's Tea Room, and third place was Mountain View Chalet. And then, in addition to the
I remember T-Berry's. They did a hamburger soup, or cheeseburger soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was really creative. They did this.
It was called bacon cheeseburger soup. Yeah.
It had ground beef in it and bacon, and then on the top, and it had cheese in it, obviously. and then on the top they did like little French fries. It was like potato shoestrings or something. It was really creative.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah.
And then in addition to the 2 trophies for best soups, we have a award for best table presentation.
Oh yes.
And it's almost been hands down the last couple of years. The best table presentation has been won by the Hunter Medical Center, who they have a nice they've got a cafe and a restaurant in the medical center. They make an excellent soup every year, and then their table presentation they put a lot of effort into, and they won last year for that.
In addition to the restaurants doing this for the charitable aspect, it's really great exposure for them, because like you said, you get 500-700 people that walk through there.
Sure.
And on top of that, if a restaurant really goes all the way out, not just with their soup, but with their table presentation, and they give reward coupons or something to get people to come and visit their restaurant. I mean, it's a win-win.
Oh yeah, I mean, weeks before the event, we provide these little table tents that we drop off to the participating restaurants, and we encourage the restaurants to put them on their tables for their patrons to see, and it literally says, "Vote for us." So that's the way the restaurant gets to blow their own horn and say, "Look, patrons of my restaurant, come and vote for me at the soup cook-off." Yeah. And it's a great way for them to advertise themselves. And there's a captive audience of 600-700 people there who are love food, and that's why they're there, and they're looking at restaurants, which is nice.
And some of the different soups we talked about: the hamburger, cheeseburger soup, the potato soup you mentioned, the butternut squash. I'm just trying to think of soups. There's been gumbos.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just read down the list of some of the soups this year. Some of the
you've already got the list.
I'll read the list off right now, which is Cafe Galleria is going to do a chicken chili. The Hunter Medical Center is doing a carrot ginger. The Atrium Cafe is a hot and sour Asian chicken soup. Cooked to order, a tomato and spinach bisque. Milford Oyster House is doing a bio black bean soup, which I understand has Brussels sprouts as one of the ingredients. This should be interesting. Dockside Market and Grill has a crab and barley soup. 55 Main has come up with an interesting, which should I can't wait to try it. It's a lobster pot pie soup. So that sounds really sounds like a crowd pleaser. We'll see how that goes. Basil Bandwagon, a mulligatawny soup. Pattenberg House, another broccoli and cheddar. Brunello Trattoria is the Italian wedding soup. Copper Hill Country Club is doing also a broccoli and cheddar. Polytech is entering a shrimp, chicken, and andouille sausage gumbo. The Rosemont Cafe is entering a black bean with cilantro, sour cream, and crunchy tortillas. And the Oasis Grill from the Clinton Holiday Inn is entering a butternut squash bisque. And a couple other entries haven't... which is Jake's. One of them hasn't revealed their soup yet. So it's a nice mixture of different types of soups. Yeah, and then like you said, it's a nice way for new restaurants to advertise themselves. The Rosemont Cafe is back in business in Rosemont after being closed for a number of years, and they're participating this year.
And what's really interesting is the demographics of the restaurants, where they're coming from, and the size and scope of it. They're all over the place. Yeah, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, we've got golf courses to really high quality, great, well-known restaurants to the Hunter Medical Center, which always is very competitive in regards to the quality of their soup, even down to little cafes, and it's a really nice mix.
Yeah, and it's great because you do get it gets the creative juices going, and then they can start to use those in their restaurants as well if it's not something that they serve all the time. Because I know a lot of the soups that you mentioned aren't necessarily, like if you said 55 Main, he doesn't normally have that on his menu.
Right.
I bet you if he wins, that'll definitely be on his menu.
I know that he's definitely he's got a great restaurant, and he's a great chef, and he's always one of the last guys to come up with his soup. So I'm always going, Jonas, it's the last day. If you got to get your soup in there. Yeah. Well, what's everybody else cooking? I can't tell you what anybody else is cooking. You got to tell me what yours is now. So we're all in it equally. I know
some of my most memorable soups, other than the ones I mentioned just already, was when and hopefully the Sword in His Filling will come back. next year since they're back open. But they did a tomato bisque a couple of years back that was to die for.
Yeah. Well, he has a great tomato bisque. I mean, I like going there, and I love that tomato biscuit he makes. I couldn't convince him to I know that they're closed on Monday night, so it's the reason that we have this event on Monday night is because a lot of restaurants are closed Monday night, and that's when their staff is free to do something other than work in the restaurant. So for some people, they like that opportunity, and for some people, they say, that's our day off, we just need a recharge, which is understandable. So, but yes, Surgeonsville Inn is reopened, and they're doing well back after the fire. So, there's still there's a couple spots left open for restaurants, and
I was gonna ask you,
there's 2 spots left open, and if there anybody who's able to convince their favorite restaurants to jump in, there's still time to twist an arm and get them.
We need people listening out there to do that, jump on board, and
yeah, absolutely,
to come in and do this.
Sure, yeah,
because it's fun.
Yeah.
And so some of the other things when you come to these events is you get to learn a little bit about Rotary too, because there is a Rotary table set up, right?
Yeah, there has been in the past. Whether we do it or not this year, again, is we're reorganizing our space. So it depends on how I'm meeting with the staff at the Commons tomorrow afternoon to get our table orientation down. And it's all about in the past we've had a couple of problems with restaurants, and again, it's all about where electricity is available in the room. So we've had a couple of complaints about certain restaurants being, caught in corners behind columns and things like that. So this year we're going to really try and do our best to have everybody, pulled as forward as possible and be in primary spaces. So after I find out what those spaces are tomorrow, I'll have a better idea of how much space we have for other things. But yeah, we always typically do have a table for Rotary to blow its own horn and to show who we are and what we do. And, we have the banner of the 4-way test up there, and it's an opportunity for people to realize that what one of the groups are in the community who are doing charitable things.
Right, and still doing the food collection on behalf of the pantries at the event.
Yes, absolutely, and all the advertising for the event, both in the media, printed press, here, everywhere else we're doing it online. Describes that there's 2 ways. There's one way to get into the event, and we suggest paying the entry fee and suggest bringing a can of food. And what we do is, since ShopRite's the event sponsor, is we bring 5 shopping carts from the parking lot. We borrow them for the evening, and those things are heavy, so it's no small task to get them back and forth. But we put them in the lobby, each with the 5 respective food pantries' names, and you can donate to the food pantry in your area and drop a can of food. And we've been very successful because every year those carts are full at the end of the evening, and we asked one of the people who are volunteers for each of the food pantries to come, and they collect the food at the end of the evening and take it directly back to the pantry. So it's been a great way to do that.
And it's kind of interesting. 5 o'clock, you got a line already waiting outside the door for people to come in, and they're typically your seniors.
Yeah.
And then as the evening goes on, you've got your more of your business oriented trade coming in, and it really just starts to flow. And, and the dynamic of the whole evening changes as you sit there and watch it grow.
It's really nice. We have we always get a student from Hunter Central to play music during the event, and that's going to occur again this year. So the way the Commons is a fantastic facility, as you know, you've been there many times. It's got a huge glass wall down one side. It's a large rectangular room, and it's just a great venue to allow the restaurants on the periphery to do their thing. And then in the middle, we set up the big round tables that serve the students during the day, and people can congregate there and listen to the music and sample their soups. We have a 50-50 event during the night, which I think the winner last year, took home, I think $700 or $800. So it's a big win. And we have a number of door prizes that we not raffle off, but when you buy a 50-50 ticket, you're in the drawing for a number of door prizes, which are gifts from restaurants. Metropolitan Seafood, I just found out today, is donating 2 gift certificates for lobster dinners, which you can pick up at their facility in Lebanon. And with the lobster dinner for 2 comes a whole other sampling of like shrimp and mussels and all kinds of things that come. So it's a very valuable raffle prize. So it's a nice thing to give away.
Get them to enter the soup cook-off.
Pardon?
You couldn't get them to enter the
Yeah,
soup
another
cook-off?
thing, they say that night is not good for them,
Yeah.
it's Monday doesn't work for them or whatever. Years ago they did participate, but the last couple of years we haven't been able to get them there.
And over the years, we've had a lot of different types of restaurants that have participated. Some we still have been there from day one, right?
Yeah, I think the Milford Oyster House has
Been there from day one.
been there from the beginning. They
'Cause they've won a couple of times.
they won it in the first couple of years, and they've been up in the top competitors over the last several years, and they're there. They're one of the first people who always get their entry form in right away, and it's nice to, because it is a charity, so it's nice to have the restaurants who really see it as that. It's an opportunity for them, as we said earlier, to advertise themselves, to have a good time with the community, and to donate to charity. It's no small event, because restaurants are required to bring 10 gallons of soup, because when you do the math and you've got 600 or 700 people there and they're all getting a 2-ounce serving, that's the equivalent of 10 gallons of soup.
Yeah.
So it's no small enterprise.
And there's no other event like this in Huron County.
No, it's interesting. I read in the paper a couple of weeks ago about a chili cook-off event that Lambertville and New Hope had, I think in conjunction with their Winter Festival.
I think it is too, yeah.
And it was interesting for me to read about it because, in this post-recession time that we're in, where the economy is still struggling along, it's not easy for restaurants and anyone in the hospitality industry to really thrive right now.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing for people to come out and participate and give like they do, which is really a valuable thing. But the reason I bring up the chili cook-off is that I wanted to read about the winners. So I go right to the list of the winners, and they listed the top 3 winners of the chili cook-off, and then they listed the competitors. And there were 5 competitors and 3 winners. So it just goes to show how hard in this economy right now, where things are still difficult in the hospitality industry, it's hard to get restaurants to compete.
Yeah.
So for restaurants that do compete, like the Milford Oyster House every year, it's really a great thing. So,
yeah. It's really a reason to do is for the charity.
Yeah, it really is.
In addition to the exposure.
Yep.
That's awesome. And you've been sharing this for how long now, Dave?
I think this is the 9th year for the event. I think this is my 6th year.
Okay.
5th or 6th year. Yeah, it's starting to blend in.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. One of the interesting tasks for this event is, and I always, I don't dread it, but I do. I'm aware of its difficulty. People take it for granted that, well, it can't be so hard to advertise the event and put lawn signs out. Well, the interesting thing about putting lawn signs out this time of year is that the ground is frozen solid. Even though we had a 50-degree day today, it's going to be a long time before the ground is soft enough to get lawn signs in, and that really is our primary way of reminding people that the event is coming up. And in the Flemington, Raritan area, where the bulk of the county's population is, that's where the bulk of our signs go as well. So it's one of my tasks, since I live close to Flemington, out over in Surgeonsville, and most of the other committee members are in other parts of the county. I take the task upon myself. I don't do a proper job of spreading it around, of doing that task. So this year, I'm aware that the last couple of years we were really lucky because there were snow piles from plowing all over the place. So every major shopping center, Walmart, ShopRite, Staples, all the big centers, even all the major intersections all over the county, it was really easy to stick in our very prominent lawn signs at prominent intersections. But this year, the snow piles have been pretty well melted away. There's not too many of them left, and the ground is frozen solid. So my task over the next few days is to figure out how to get the proper advertising signs up for the event. So, yeah, it is pretty funny.
So I'm just sitting here looking at the 10 card, and I remember when I was on the committee, when the logo was designed, and it was designed by the Polytech students.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a contest,
Mhm.
and it's a great logo.
It's a great logo.
Is.
It's two dueling chefs with soup spoons, crossed like swords. It's great.
And it's on the aprons and all the promotional materials and everything, which is really fun to see.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I just love to tell my friends who haven't really heard about it that much, or they're hearing about it for the first time. They ask about what the soup cook-off is, and it's really easy to say that it's just a win-win-win all the way along. It's a win, like I said when I first began the conversation this evening, it's a win for Hunterdon Central to host the event because they need to promote community awareness, just like Rotary needs to promote community awareness. The restaurant needs to promote themselves and do charitable things, which is just a great thing to do. And then at the end of the evening, it's great to know that 700 people have come and donated their $15, and in return have gotten to sample 20 great soups. And then in the final analysis, every single dollar, Rotary doesn't keep any of the money for its other activities. All of that money goes directly as advertised right to the food pantries. So it's like from the top to the bottom, from the start to the finish. It's all just, it's a great evening.
It is. It's a great, and it's a fun social gathering to do on Monday night with your friends.
Yeah, it's a great night. As I said earlier, the venue is really well suited for an event like this. People just congregate, sample, and talk, and enjoy the music.
And then they fight over getting in line.
And they wait for the 50-50 drawing because everybody's like...
And they go from one line to the next with their soup. And in the next line, they're sitting there eating their soup.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's like a big round feeding machine.
Yeah, and while it's really typically very well attended, sometimes there's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, maybe 10 people in line for a soup, but it moves really fast. And if one table's got 10 people in line, another table's got 2 or 3, it's really easy. There's no stress or a long wait to do any of this. It's just really I don't really like to wait for too many things. I'm impatient, and it's a great. You don't have to go from one table to the next in order or in line. You can bop around anywhere you want, from the 20th table to the first table or anywhere in between. And then when you walk in the door, we give you a tally sheet with each of the restaurants, their names and the soups that they're participating with, and the order and their number, so that you can, and we give you a little pen along with the tally sheet so you can make your own notes in regards to what you thought was the best soup. So when you're ready to cast your vote, you can have remembered what your thoughts were.
Yeah, and and it's really you create your own pace, because there's some people who actually will come in, grab a seat with their friends in the middle of the room, like you were talking about the round tables.
Yeah.
And I've seen people actually get the cafeteria trays. I don't know where they're getting them from, because I haven't seen them. And they walk around, they grab some soup from the table, and they go back and they sit there and enjoy their soup, and they take their time and have a great time. Other people are like, literally, like I just said, they stand in one line, they get their soup, and they just keep on going.
Right.
And they don't stop.
Sure, yeah.
And then you got other people who are just like hanging around talking, just having a good time, and kind of bebopping wherever.
Yeah, and I know that I love to eat too, personally, so I can handle my 40 ounces of soup with no problem. And and when I find a soup that I like, I go back for a second or a third, just to make sure that
out of there 60 gallons of
I don't come out with any shortage, that's for sure. I get my $10 worth, that's for sure.
As long as the soups don't run out.
Yeah,
that's the key.
Yeah, it's pretty well managed, so we usually have enough.
Yeah, I know there's been 1 or 2 times when that's happened.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's not really been a big issue.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So any new surprises this year, or?
Not really, no. I mean, it's there's a few new participants, a lot of repeat participants, and again, I think that we've got our event refined, and it's just a more comfortable event as far as layout and spaciousness for both the restaurants and the attendees. So it's
and I know it's so well run because there are other Rotarians that come from other places in the district that try to emulate what we're doing in their area.
Yeah,
which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've gotten phone calls from Rotarians from all over the place. Hey, how do you do it? What's the protocol? What do you do? And of course, I get lots of phone calls and emails as well from people who want to attend the event. Can we buy tickets in advance? Right. Tickets are only sold at the door. We haven't ever run out of available space there for people, so there's no worries about that. So yeah, it's a very popular night.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in Union County they do the Taste of Elizabeth, and that's when they're at the Holiday Inn, or I think it's the is it the Holiday Inn? I forget which hotel they do it in, and it's a traditional taste of something.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've had them here for the hospital in the past, but it's a totally different atmosphere from this soup cook-off. If you're trying to compare, and it really is hard to compare because that is, you're getting a variety of restaurants that are coming, doing a lot of different types of cuisine. Whereas this really is all about your basic soup, which is what people are trying to do.
Yeah.
And as you said, trying to drink 40 gallons of soup.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it's a great time to do it in the smack dab in the middle of winter. It's just really a nice way to break up the winter. And I always think like, well, what's another type of food that you can really isolate? Like when you talk about a taste of something where restaurants are bringing all different types of things, it's hard to really isolate. But soup is something that is really a narrow category. Yeah. It's transferable, so it's easy for the restaurant to transport it, to keep it warm for long enough, and to serve it out in reasonable, doses, samples. And so I've been thinking about like, what are other things that you could do? I mean, could you do it with
if it was
pizza?
Like a high school, we could do a pairing with wine.
Yeah, true. And pizza would be something to think about, but when you think about its transportation and keeping it warm, it's difficult, and serving sizes are difficult to.
I don't think pizza and soup go together.
Nah, it would be hard. So it's in thinking about different. I mean, maybe wings, wings or something like that, but soup is just such a generic. It's not too broad, but it's not too narrow.
But we have had people do chili, and like you said earlier, the gumbos and stuff like that.
Sure.
So it's all kind of
gumbos are definitely on the list, and there's one chili in there too. So it's.
Did you when you went to the chili cook-off? Did you reach out to those restaurants to come to this one?
I tried, yeah. So the chili cook-off in Lambertville and New Hope, I think there might have been one Lambertville restaurant that participated only. Everything else was from Bucks County, so we couldn't bring them over the river. But since this is a Hunterdon County event, since most of the population is here in the Flemington Raritan area, that's typically where most of our competitors have come from. But the difficult part of this, and a bit disappointing, is that there are so many restaurants in Lambertville. And we just have had such a difficult time getting them to come up all the way up the 5 miles to Flemington, and we do have Cafe Galleria who won last year. They're from Lambertville, and in the past we have had the Inn of the Hawk, but they haven't participated in the last couple of years. But yeah, so if anybody who's listening has their favorite restaurant in Lambertville who they can encourage, we would love to have them.
Yeah. It would be great to see more of that representation, like you said.
Yeah.
Maybe we only have subcategories of winners for the town that they're from or something. Maybe that would encourage them.
Sure.
Get a little bit more competition.
I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think. We got a lot of time left. What else are we going to talk about with soup, for crying out loud? We should have soup recipes we could have given people. Actually, do they do that? Do the restaurants offer their recipes?
I haven't ever seen it done in the past. A few years ago, when we were ambitious and we had more people on the committee participating, we thought, we would compile the recipes after the event and sell it in a cookbook. But, everything is time and resources. So just to get the help to do that, and whether it's economically feasible to absorb the cost, and the sales would be, it's a whole nother category. So maybe someday we'll do that. We haven't done it in the past.
Yeah. So I kind of want to switch gears a little bit to close. I mean, this is a great event and it's a wonderful thing, but we hit on a key thing, which is that this is really trying to bring awareness to a lot of different entities, but most especially to Rotary. The clubs act independently. They have their own fundraisers. We try to support each other in them. But we really wanted to come together and do something for the greater good of Hunterdon for a single focus, which was the food pantries. But you kind of hit the nail on the head, which is over the years, participation on the committee has kind of dropped a little bit. But that's indicative of what we're dealing with in our clubs and then in the bigger area of Rotary in general.
Sure.
Do you have an opinion as to why we're having such a hard time attracting newer members to come into Rotary? Because that's a big issue right now, not just in Rotary, but in every civic organization, Alliance, Kiwanis. It's across the board.
Yeah, I it's sort of a negative topic,
Yeah, it really is.
There's a lot of canned answers for it. I think pretty much most of them are accurate, which is it's the lingering effects post-recession of people's, a lot of people are self-employed people or they're in small businesses, and you know, all you have to do is watch the politics that are going on for the next election, and people who are impacted the most are typically smaller companies, and if you're a sole proprietor or from a small company, you know, paying your own dues, that's an impact. It's a cost. So, and then you have the demographics of you know, people, or particularly young people, leaving small towns and going away to work in, you know, the more urban centers. So there's less of that energy, and particularly in Hunterdon County, because it's a more rural atmosphere, you know, rural suburban. And it's just been difficult for a lot of reasons to get people to be in clubs, social clubs, and to give not only of their time but of their resources, which is part of which is money, and to pay your dues and to participate in different events. So it's been difficult to keep our membership up where it used to be years and years ago.
And your club was one of the bigger clubs. You guys have, like, what, over 100 people?
We had close to around 100 and close to 100 for many years, and now we're down, like a lot of clubs are, we're down to about 50% of that. We're close to 50 members. We've been in the 40s for the last couple of years, and you know, constantly trying to get new members, but having the struggle with people's time and time and resources. That's what it comes down to.
Which is one of the reasons why the E-Club was formed, was trying to break that barrier, and their sole mission is just to be there to support the other clubs physically, but their members meet online, so they don't have that, you know, that obligation of having to physically come somewhere once a week.
Right.
RI really overall has kind of addressed the issue by relaxing a lot of the things over the years that were required. What was it? You had to make 80% of your meetings,
right,
or makeup, or whatever.
Attendance, right?
And now it's, you know, a lot of it's just up to the clubs, and they're just like, whatever, just, you know.
Right. It's more lax. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the clubs are, you know, their memberships are getting so low that I know that Lambertville is having a lot of difficulty keeping membership, and that's one of the reasons why we have a difficult time having inroads into the restaurants in Lambertville, is because the Lambertville Club has so few members, you know.
Which is kind of funny, because you would think a Monday night, right? They meet Monday nights.
I believe so, yeah.
Club at the Lambertville station.
Yeah.
You'd think they would be able to attract a lot of people to that area. You
Yeah,
know?
it's
Who
true.
wouldn't want to go have a drink in Lambertville on a Monday night?
It's true, yeah. It's hard to put your finger on.
It really is.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of the people who have been participants in not social clubs, but international fundraising charitable clubs like this, you know, this was pre-recession and pre-changes in our you know, social structure and politics and the way society is today. A lot of the members who are still the strong members from our clubs were members decades ago and still are members. So as the age of the membership increases and these people, you know, get older and retire and move away, retire and move to other places. Some pass away. You know, there's attrition that way too. So it's been very difficult to attract new, younger members to our type of charitable organization.
Yeah, it's a shame, because you know, I always tell people, wouldn't you like to be a member of an organization that you know that every second of the day something is going on, and it's helping somebody.
Yeah, and of course with the demographic changing, where young people, you know, do a lot of their social interaction online, they're not used to, or one of their priorities is not so much meeting face to face in groups, you know, on a regular basis. They're doing a lot of that online these days, so it's just a change in society overall.
But I know the two Interact clubs in Hunterdon County are very strong.
They are.
North Hunterdon's got over 200 members.
Is that right?
Like that.
Wow.
And I don't know how many Hunterdon Central has. Do you?
Hunterdon Central has a lot. I think they've got close to 100 also, because they just asked us to pay for their T-shirts, and it was like, oh wow.
What happens to these kids?
Yeah.
Where do they go? Why aren't they continuing?
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of it's because they go away and they don't necessarily come back.
They go away when you see the you know, most of the scholarship recipients of scholarship applicants and recipients of the Rotary clubs, you know, when you see where they're going, they're not necessarily staying in New Jersey. They're going other places.
Yeah. And I know a lot of the stigma of, well, you know, this isn't about a way to get business, and that's been that's been a challenge with some clubs because it was always the old guard, which is you're here for civic, not to get business out of it, but that's a byproduct. Really needs to kind of, and has over the years changed its focus a little bit and has evolved. I know I've made some amazing contacts over the years, even today through LinkedIn, where I've met Rotarians worldwide, and the connections I've made with those people benefits me personally. So I mean, there's a byproduct of being a member of Rotary that can help you.
That's true.
That in your vacation.
True, absolutely. I mean, we all say that service above self is our primary motto. It's not about the self, but of course one of the byproducts of being in a club is that you do make valuable connections, and there's networking inevitably, and it is good for business. Yeah. So, but it's, after everything we've said for the past 10 or 15 minutes, it still remains the primary challenge of the clubs to keep a sufficient roster of membership to conduct the club's activities. And as an example of the Lambertville Club, their membership is becoming so low, and their participation is becoming so low. They're really in danger of having the International Organization of Rotary potentially consider merging them with other clubs, because after a while, when you get to such a small number of members, you can't really function that well. Yeah. So it's a concern.
That's too bad. Well, and that on the district level is happening as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
As our district starts to shrink.
Sure.
That's been the conversation for the past 5 years, and it's really gotten very serious over the past 3 years.
Yes. About
merging our district with another. And the average Rotarian, if you're in one district versus another, it doesn't matter. But on the whole, it does.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's nice to have your club meet in your little local village or community or town center. So when that, if that changes, it certainly doesn't help things to have a club eliminated and merge with a bigger club, and having people who are already members have to go to another area to meet. So that's a concern.
And you do lose members when that happens.
Yeah.
Because there's some people who are like, I don't want to go in, and I can't. First of all, I can't meet at that time. Another thing is that's not the atmosphere I want to be in, because every club does have a different atmosphere.
Yeah, it's true. Yep. So, I mean, after all that about the decline of membership, it is. I mean, we've had, I think, 3 or 4 members in the last new members in the last couple of months in our club. It's always just really nice and invigorating to see new people come in, and to see somebody come in for the right reasons and because they want to pitch in and lend a hand to charitable things which are happening not only in their own backyard and their community, but nationally and internationally as well. Yeah. That's the spirit of Rotary, so it's nice to see that.
Every time I turn around, I see that you are getting new members.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, so do our best.
Replacing those that are moving to Florida.
That's true, absolutely. Yeah.
We got to get Rich to be a member.
Yeah.
He's like, are you dragging me back into this conversation again?
They tried years ago.
They tried.
But I'd left Newsweek and I was freelancing, and I couldn't guarantee that I could be there every Wednesday. I used to go with Harry Copeland all the time.
There you go.
And then I went with Frank Fuso for a while.
Yeah.
But it was just and I was a one-person business.
Yeah.
And, when you get the business, you want to keep working.
Yeah.
So. But I've supported the soup cook-off since day one. I've been there all 9 years.
Yeah. You support the show.
I do.
Absolutely.
And I think what Rotary does is very important. Yeah. It's just that you probably don't want me there anyway.
We want everybody there.
Yes, that's right. We don't discriminate, Rich.
It's true.
So again, back to the soup cook-off. It is on Monday, February the 29th, 5 to 7.
Correct.
100 Central Regional High School's Commons, and if you don't know how to get there, it's right up at 31.
Mm-hmm. Well, the easiest way to describe it now is that if you were to go to, if you were going to go to Walmart, and you're coming up 31, you make the right to go to Walmart, and now there's actually a new road that they built where the new Costco is going to go in. That dumps out directly at the Commons. So if you're going on Route 31 North, you make a right on Junction Road. And instead of making a left into the Walmart parking lot, you make a right onto the new road that will go through the new Costco site, and it comes right to the Commons. It's very easy to get to.
Yeah. When's that Costco going to open up? Do you know? Haven't heard any word.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think the Chamber of Commerce, Chris Phelan has some insight into what's happening there. They installed the site improvements, as you know, and I think the building construction has been held up because I think one entity, this is what I've heard, I don't know this completely factually, but I understand that one entity owns the land and installed the site improvements. The other entity is actually the tenant, Costco, who constructs their own building.
Okay.
And the reason they haven't begun construction is because of some ongoing litigation with an adjoining neighbor, which hasn't been resolved completely yet. And
always something.
that's what I've been told anyway. And it just seems that, and I heard that was moving in the right direction. So hopefully, I mean, it would be very unusual for such a powerful shopping center developer to own the land and install the site improvements for millions and millions and many millions of dollars, and to not be relatively certain they've got a strong contractual agreement with a tenant in the office, which is going to be constructing their store soon.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon.
No, it's not.
I know we had that in Clinton on 31, right where the job lot is, the ocean lot.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else owns the property. Someone else owns the buildings, the pad,
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
So you're dealing with multiple entities.
Yeah, so that's the location, and
if anyone wants to learn more about the soup cook-off, they can go to the website.
yeah, go online. Just Google Hunterdon County Soup Cook-Off, and the photographs of the past events and winners will come up. You'll even find a video online from 2013, I think, and you'll find the participants and entries for 2016, and it's all right there. Just Google Hunterdon County Soup Cook-Off, and you'll find a right way to it.
And parking's not a problem because it's got plenty of parking spots,
Sure.
right?
Yep. Right there at the entrance to the Commons, plenty of parking, and right across the road.
Yep.
So it's very easy.
Meaning at Polytech.
At Polytech also, and I'm not sure. I think that parking lot, which is on the right adjacent to the Costco site.
Oh, is that still open?
I think that's still open.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
the last time I was there, that was still open. I'm not.
I can't remember. The Chamber of Commerce had their event there in November.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if people parked over there or not.
As of then, I think it was still open.
Okay.
So there is plenty of parking immediately adjacent to the facility.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on and talking about the soup cook-off. It's
Sure.
been great.
Sure.
Your club's doing some other events coming up. Do you want to promote them?
We always do the soup. I'm sorry, not the soup. The dog walk in June. The date, I believe, is right in the middle of the month. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that the date is firmed up yet. It's around the 13th, from what I recall. And then another primary event. So the dog walk is a large fundraiser that we do right in the middle of Flemington, and the other event that we do annually is the pancake breakfast, which has been combined with Halloween High School at Hunterdon Central this year. Same location, and since that's held so close to Halloween, we do a costume party for kids. So it becomes a big family community day where you come and you have pancakes, and you also enter your kids in a costume contest, and that's another community event, that's our primary fundraiser: the dog walk, the pancake day, and the third primary event for the Flemington Club is the soup cook-off, but instead of the proceeds coming to the Flemington Club directly, they go directly from the event right to the food pantries. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I just got a brain freeze. I hate when that happens.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, some of the other things that Rotary Club does for the Flemington Rotary Club is our primary thing is donations to various charities, primarily to scholarships from Hunterdon Central High School. And we donate to little community needs as they occur. We have different committees that hear about needs of individuals in the community, and as those things arise, that we disperse help in the form of funds or assistance from club members. We just had a speaker last week, which was in regards to Pedals for Progress, where they take bicycle donations, and now that's morphing into also sewing machine donations. From what I understand, so many garages have been emptied of old bicycles at this point that that sewing machines are one of the new focuses of that organization. And not only, I mean, bicycles in foreign countries around the world are a valuable source of transportation, and Rotary packages them up here, puts them in a container ship, and sends them all over the world, which allows people to get to their destinations for business and education. But sewing machines actually allow people in other countries who don't have employment to actually start a little micro business of their own, so they can start producing things and repairing things with sewing machines. So those are just a few of the things that Rotary does.
I remember what I was going to say. The Hunter clubs also do the flu clinics.
Yeah, flu clinics, sure,
Yes.
yep.
So there's a gentleman that our club hooked up with, Dr. Ron Frank, and we started the flu clinics through our club, and then when it's been expanded, and it's in all the different areas of the clubs.
Yeah.
Which has really been a great community asset.
It has been.
Yeah.
As a president, one of my goals at the end of the year is to compile a complete list, a comprehensive list of what Rotary does, throughout the course of the year, because so many of the things that we do aren't these big events. They're small things that slip under the radar. I mean, they do account for thousands and thousands of dollars of charitable giving and countless hours of volunteerism. But since they've just been such a regular way of us spending our time, we sort of forget about all the things that we do. We take them for granted. And when you're trying to solicit a new member or to promote Rotary, you think, oh, soup cook-off, pancake day, and dog walk, but you forget about the countless little things. Like, we'll hear about a woman who lost her job and, would like to get a loan for a computer or something, so we donate a computer. Or someone who, has a husband passed away, she's got, 4 or 5 kids, and her car broke down, she can't go to work, so we'll help repair a car. Types of yeah, absolutely. So that's what makes Rotary Rotary. It's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Mick.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And the other thing that I wanted to mention was that the Rotaries are going to be marching in the St. Patrick's Day parade with the Friendly Sons, and that is going to be on, I forget the Sunday. Oh, you got a calendar right there, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Sunday near it's the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day.
Sunday near St. Patrick's Day. Let's see.
They are actually going to be on the show next week to talk about the parade and about their organization.
St. Patrick's Day, is that the
17th?
So that would be the 20th, would be the Sunday.
Well, no, it would be the Sunday
13th?
before.
13th is the 13th,
yes,
yep.
13th.
Sunday the 13th.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys can join us in that parade.
Great, awesome. We'll look forward to it.
Bring beer.
That's always a big draw.
It's a draw.
add that to any event, and it's a hit.
It's a hit. Well, thank you again for coming
Yeah,
on.
you're welcome.
And thank you all for listening in. This is Past District Governor Megan Jones Toll. Until next time, have a great week and make a difference in someone else's life.